Welcome to Houston, We Have a Doctor, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes with the physicians, surgeons, and healthcare leaders shaping our city. I'm your host, Dr. Sterling Carter, physical therapist, Army veteran, and the founder of the award-winning Sterling Physical Therapy and Wellness. Each week, we'll sit down with Houston's top docs to hear their stories behind the scrubs, how they're changing lives, innovating care, and keeping Houston strong. Let's get started. Hello, this is Dr. Carter. I'm your host of Houston, We Have a Doctor, and this is an opportunity to get to know the insides and the kind of the personal side of some of our greatest doctors out here in the Houston area. And it's my honor to introduce you all to Dr. Ismail Ahmed, who is one of our DPTs, one of our doctors of physical therapy at Sterling Physical Therapy and Wellness. So, Dr. Ahmed, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So we're going to jump right into it. Our past patients, current patients, and even future patients, I want them to get to know you a little bit better. So
hmm
tell me a little bit about your story. How did you end up becoming a physical therapist? What inspired you to do that?
Sure. As most PTs, I feel like as almost every PT is there, I was active during my young years, playing basketball, playing soccer. Recently got into golf. Had my fair share of injuries, and that was kind of the way I got introduced to the physical therapy field. And I fell in love with providing care for patients, or like the therapist made a big difference in my life. So I wanted to kind of give back and also make a big difference in other people's lives and hopefully help them be pain free, getting back to doing the activity that they love doing. So yeah, that's how I kind of got introduced to the field.
Great, great. And you're absolutely right, Dr. Ahmed. Everyone has that same kind of story where they were athletes or they
hmm
were active or somehow they sustained an injury and had an opportunity to work with a physical therapist and we're some of the greatest people, motivational. You really
hmm
get to see how rewarding a job is like this. So that's great. Good for you. So tell me about kind of what do you specialize in as far as physical therapy? What are the ideal patients for you?
So any kind of ortho injuries, I love to see, especially like sports focused therapy. I love getting people back to playing sports like basketball, football, soccer, volleyball, all the kind of sports out there. Love doing like plyometric training, getting into the specifics of that. Um, but yeah, any type of ortho injuries, if it's like knee pain or ankle tendonitis, simple stuff like that. That's where I kind of groove.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's
Yeah.
great because as you know, here in Texas and in Houston, we're big on sports, right? So there
hmm
is intramural and little league and high school and
Yeah.
college and professional. So for all of our listeners out there, if you have someone or if you yourself need some help or rehab after a sports-related injury or even injury prevention, Dr.
hmm
Med is your guy. So,
Yeah.
if you can, Dr. Ahmed, share a success story, a patient that you worked with, and how you were able to help them out.
Sure. One story that I have that's like very like sticks close to me is had a patient who was a rugby player, and she tore her ACL playing rugby. And I was kind of like taking her through her therapy process, right? There's ups and downs, obviously.
Okay.
But what really stuck with me is when she graduated, she made me a card and like a thank you note and stuff. And she also like kind of drew out the ACL and she showed how like I kind of put it back into place. Even though I didn't do the surgery, I
I
just
love
helped her
it.
kind of like regain all the mobility and the strength and stuff. So I keep her card even now in my backpack. Just every time I need it, I just kind of whip it out and take a look at it. It kind of
Motivation.
reminds me of like why I got into this field in the first place. And I didn't realize how much an effect I had on her to like for her to go out of her way to make that card. So it's kind of like it was satisfying to know that we're making that difference in people's lives, and we shouldn't take it lightly when people are coming in and they're stressed and they're going through stuff that you go on that goes on in life. They're coming here for like even like 40 minutes to an hour of just like working on what they're struggling with and also providing some like mental health as well, like with their therapy. So
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much we are not just physical therapists, but we're
mhm.
psychotherapists, emotional
Yeah.
therapists. all those different things. And that's such a great story
Mhm.
because our patients do realize, and to a point you were making, you never know who's watching or listening and what kind of impact you're making. That's definitely one of those things
Mhm.
I've learned in life. And so I'm always, cognizant and aware of that because you're right. You would make a difference in so many different ways. So good for you.
Yeah.
So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about what you love to do or what you like to do when you're not working so hard, changing lives and improving
Yeah.
people's future.
Well, I still like to stay active, even though
Okay.
I'm still struggling with injuries as we go on, you know. I still love playing basketball, golfing, just staying active, being outside, and then also spending time with family, you know. I love eating, so
Well,
if y'all have any recommendations on food, you know, I'd love to have some.
you can't go wrong in the greater Houston area because we have
Yeah.
so much great food. It's so diverse, so
Mhm.
culturally diverse. So speaking of
Yeah.
which, talking about we're in the greater Houston community, what do you think is so special about this area and why do you like seeing patients and living here and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, we see patients from all backgrounds, and for me, it's very enjoyable to know like the different cultures that are around us, learning about them, and then changing a lot of the myths that a lot of cultures have of like physical medicine, right? So, for example, there's a lot of controversy behind if young children should like lift weights, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of cultures, including mine, where even like I wasn't allowed to lift weights at an early age, but I think it's safe to do. You know, it helps them support their joints and their body whenever they're doing physical activities. So educating people, but also being educated on different cultures, I feel like it's a big part of being in this greater Houston area.
Great point, and I agree 100%. And I'm big on this. I think it's our job as physical therapists to make sure that we educate the community and let them
Hmm.
know what we can do for them and how exercise and rehab can be so beneficial. So even on the opposite side of the spectrum, what we know, of course, is that even as you get older,
Hmm.
exercise and weightlifting is super important to keep your bones strong and to
Yeah.
minimize falls and that kind of thing. So it's just so many benefits to weightlifting. So good.
Hmm.
So last question for you before we get out of here, and thank you so much for your time. But I'm sure we're
No
going to have
problem.
a lot of people that are interested, want to come see you and get an evaluation from you and get treatment. How do we get in contact with you?
Sure. Sterling Physical Therapy. I'm currently at the Sugarland location, but we also have location in Stafford and Bel Air. And you can just do a Google search and find the phone number and email if you need to contact us. But yeah,
Awesome.
Sterling
Awesome.
Physical
Yeah.
Therapy.
Sterling Physical Therapy and Wellness. Our website is sterlingtherapy.com. Phone number is 281-240-3140. And thank you so much for your time, Dr. Meb. We're
Mhm.
glad to have you on board and we look forward to you, changing more lives over here in the Sugar
Mhm.
Land area. Okay.
Sounds
Thanks so
good.
much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.